Hey guys, my name's Katherine Bennett. I'm the Director of Social Media and Content with the Atlanta Outdoor Club. And I'm so happy to be joined today by one of my great friends and a fellow hiker in the Atlanta Outdoor Club, Jennifer Hauser.
Hi, thanks for having me, Catherine. Catherine's the one who introduced me to the Atlanta Outdoor Club, so I thank her for that.
Yes, I'm so glad that you're one of our members now. I love seeing that you've done events, and I know that you actually did one of your first Appalachian Trail hikes with the club. Tell us about that, Jen.
And so I had a nice person that I carpooled with for that AOC hike. It was an early morning hike, an early morning start, not a lot of people around. You lose your cell service. So good to go with the group. Another reason I joined. It's safer that way to be in a group. You don't get as lost. And it's just a great way to start the day.
So, who was the trip leader on that hike, and what did you see when you were on the hike?
The trip leader was Gary, who's done a gazillion hikes, and he
He
definitely,
hikes like every day. I don't. Obviously, he's retired because who has time for that?
I wish I could do that. And I know Gary is an expert at the Appalachian Trail and has hiked many parts, if not all of it, at different times. And he has his well-known straw hat known as lampshade. And, he made everyone feel comfortable. I think it was a regular group as part of a series, hiking parts of the trail. So kind of joined at the end. I didn't get a chance to do the other parts because I work still full time. It was very fun. It was a nice day. It started to rain for a second, but we survived. And an interesting part of it was that we ran into some military training. There was a big group. I think they were Army Rangers. They had really heavy backpacks on, and their leader approached us first and said, "Hey, just to let you guys know, they're in a training scenario, so please don't talk to them." And they haven't really had any sleep or food on purpose because they're doing like 3 days out there in the wilderness.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of cool. They parted the trail as we passed through, and there was also a helicopter. It was fascinating. So a little added bonus there. And the trail, I think, was about 9 miles. We didn't see a ton of mountain views on that particular section, but you can still see it through the trees. And you really feel like you're alone in the wilderness, which is what I like. And some of the in-town hikes are really great too, but I like to really get away if I can. And another highlight of that one was that we met a man from Norway who was just starting his Appalachian Trail journey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he was planning to do the whole way to.
Oh, wow. It's
Is
like
it from-
2,100 miles.
Yeah, so he came all the way from Norway to do that, and he was by himself, and he was just starting, and he was excited.
Wow. Yeah, that's very adventurous. Maybe one day if I'm still healthy after I retire, but I can't really pull off a 2,100-mile hike at this point in my life.
Yeah, I think the backpacking part is the challenge for me. I don't like carrying stuff. So I like that the club offers daytime hikes, but they also do backpacking. So it's really your skill set that you want to build on.
I wanted to ask you about Amicalola. I believe you have some stories you want to share about some hikes there.
Yeah, I just really like that trail to the hike in where you can spend the night. I haven't spent the night yet, but it's on my list.
That's a good one.
There was a day where I took a Friday off of work, and it was winter. It was January, and I prefer to hike when it's cold.
Me too.
I love a good winter hike.
Yes.
I was just so happy to drive there in the morning and see snow. It wasn't a difficult drive because the road was, safe, but there was still snow on the ground.
Right.
And it was just, there weren't a lot of people. I think it was maybe 3 other people on that hike. And I was really glad that the leader had an extra hiking pole because I don't usually use those. I have pretty good balance, but with the ice, it was really good that he had one extra stick for me because we didn't anticipate there being that much snow on the ground. He had called the ranger station beforehand, and they said it was pretty clear, but it wasn't that clear. It was a nice, beautiful, peaceful trip through the snowy trees, and then you get to that hiker's inn or hike in.
The hike in,
and you sit there, and I was just so happy. The sun was shining, so it made it warm enough. I wasn't freezing. I had done the 5 miles, so I was already warm. The sun was shining. I was sitting there relaxing, having lunch with a fellow hiker.
That sounds so nice.
It was just the best day. I was so glad I took work off. And It was just really, that's really my happy place. And then I went back with my husband another trip, and
Okay.
that's when we saw a black bear on the trail.
What was
So it
that
was
like? I've never seen a bear. I've been hiking for 20 years. What was that experience like?
I mean, the bear didn't care about us. It was up ahead. It wasn't in our faces. It was just wandering around, chilling. But it was really cool to see it, and we had fun. There weren't that many people out there, but we had fun whenever someone was coming towards us to say, "Hey, just heads up, we saw a bear, so be careful." And no one was scared. They were excited like we were. I told my friends, non-hiking friends who don't understand us, they said, "Oh my God, that would be terrifying. I'd die." That, like, no, the other hikers on the trail, they get excited just like we do, because I've noticed one thing about the group is I found my people. We're all really crazy. We all want to just like keep going for millions of miles, even if we're dying. We want to see violent animals. We want to not have water. We want to be really sweaty and humid. Well, I don't. I prefer winter. But you get the idea.
Are you a snake person? What do you feel like when you see a snake on the trail?
I don't want them near me. I like all animals. I love all animals. I'm a nature person, but I once came to Georgia and I was hiking near the Chattahoochee and I walked right over a snake and I didn't even know it.
Oh.
The person behind me said, "You just walked over a snake," and then it went up. So, I need to pay attention because there are definitely snakes here.
Yeah, I seem to run across a lot of snakes, but for whatever reason, I haven't seen a bear yet. I say that, and I'll probably see one on my next hike.
Yes, I'm
But
all about the animals. I haven't seen anything that exotic here in Georgia, though, just a lot of deer, mainly.
hey, I wanted to ask you, I've noticed that you've done some of the easier hikes, and now you're doing some of the D4 hikes. How did you make that leap, and how do you prepare for a harder hike, or don't you prepare? Like, what's your process?
That's one thing for new members to keep in mind, is that even if you have previous hiking experience outside of the group, you have to be able to prove that, which I couldn't because I don't like to use a lot of apps. When I go, I just kind of like to be at one with nature and not be, on my thing, like count, count, count.
Right.
So I had signed up for a D4 hike, which was a Blood Mountain from Lake Winfield, Scott. And the leader at the time said, "Oh, do a few more D3s or, other things with the group so that you have proof that you can keep up."
Right.
And it kind of hits your ego. You don't want to hold the group back. And I love that the group has these rules for that very reason. It's totally fair. And I support it, but it does secretly hurt your ego. Of course, once I was told that, it was my goal in life to do every D3 there ever was so that I could prove myself and do these D4s. And yeah, so I did some local hikes in the area. D2s, I think you start with, and then you do D3s, and then a D4, like I think was at Kennesaw Mountain. That's a good one to prepare.
Oh,
And
definitely.
it's also, yeah, and it's also pretty safe. There's usually a lot of people there. You can even do that one on your own and download all trails and track your steps if you want to prove. But so then I did end up doing the Blood Mountain hike later with a different leader, and it was a wonderful experience. And that
Was
one is
that
one
with
that
Greg?
it was with Pamela is her name. Yeah, I've never hiked with her except for that one, and she was great. And what I liked about it is Appalachian Trail, but also you do get the amazing views
Yes.
of Blood Mountain. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. And the rhododendrons were blooming, and those are very pretty. The natural flowers and wild azaleas. I think that's what they were. They were orange. And there were some kind of, I forget what the name of the path is, but we did a lot of rock navigating. I think that's what kind of made it a more difficult hike. Was there was a lot of stepping over rocks and they were wet and
Oh, wow.
and it was a long one. But yeah, we had lunch with the views when we got to the main point. And
Such great views, you're right. You feel like you worked hard and you got a reward when you got to the top. It's not always the case, as you've mentioned with some hikes, right?
yeah, it's always rewarding, but this one did offer the real views.
One thing I like about being in the club is I learn different trails from other trip leaders. There's so much institutional knowledge. So Kip, he's one of our trip leaders and he does Vineyard Mountain a lot. So I finally checked that one out for the first time. I went out and scouted it by myself with a friend who also happens to be named Jennifer. And then I went and actually led that hike. I love that one. It's right near Lake Allatoona. It's about a 45-minute drive from Sandy Springs, taking I-75. And I like you were saying, I like hiking in winter, and winter is a great time to do Vineyard because the leaves are off the trees and you have some excellent views of Lake Allatoona. You get some good elevation. Um, there is one trail, the Red Trail. It's very steep and it's definitely challenging. You can skip that one if you don't want to do something that's really steep. But that's one thing I like about that trail. It offers a lot of variety. You can make it as easy or hard as you want to. And I also like the fact that it's not super far from Atlanta. So if you need to get back, you're not committed to a whole day of being out.
But Catherine, I heard about that, and there is apparently no vineyard. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
the irony of it all, because you think, oh, I'm going to a vineyard, and then there's nothing. Why is it even called that?
Yeah, it's kind of misleading, right? There's some false advertising there. That's a really good question. We'll have to look into that one.
I will add, if you like to drink, some people enjoy a cold beer after an Appalachian Trail hike. That is something that the group does, certain people, if you wish to partake.
Yeah, some people just take a cooler and put it in their car and they have it ready to go.
There's also a fun brewery. I think it's called North Forsyth or Novo or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
On 400. I think that's a popular place for hikers coming back.
Yeah. Worked hard. You want to reward yourself with a nice, refreshing beer. I totally get it. But that's not required at the end of a hike. It's totally optional.
Yes.
Well, Jen, I want to thank you so much for giving us some insights and telling us some stories about your hiking with the club. I know you've joined about a year ago now, and like you and me, we both have full-time jobs, so we're not hiking as much as, some of the other members in the club. But I love that you've gotten out there and you've tried a variety of trails, and I hope that so far it's been a good and positive experience for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope to keep trying more. I'm learning every day from this group, so it's keep on hiking.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us on our conversation, and we'll see you on the trails. Bye-bye.